Wow, already week number 6 here, day number 26 of 40. The autumn season at GPW rolls full steam ahead. Ronnie and Jason, good to have your company. The boys in blue here from our clubhouse studios.
Sharp.
Thanks, man.
Well rested.
Well rested. I'm glad I had, actually. I was thinking driving to Gulfstream today, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday to kind of recoup the, the boys. But it was pretty exciting. But great Breeders' Cup. I mean, there were some huge efforts, and there was a large part of me rooting for our South Florida-based horses.
Who ran well.
Yeah, they did run well, for sure. Math Wizard even beat a Preakness and a Travers winner running 5th in the Classic. And just like that, Breeders' Cup has come and gone. And now, I think, Ronnie, it's fair to say, and it was a great Breeders' Cup, but we focus in on November 29th with opening day right around the corner.
And it is right around the corner. You know, we got our big week coming up this Saturday at Gulfstream Park West right here. So we'll see. It's getting really close. I was adding up the days. Like you said, you're the day guy. So how many days left before?
No, there's 15 cards, dude.
That's
three weeks remain. And maybe the biggest telltale sign in a way that are certainly famed in primetime winter meet is really around the corner. Looking at Friday's card, Georgia Brayu's in the mix. Georgia Brew, Georgia Brayu. I get different pronunciations with him all the time. Brian Lynch, Todd Pletcher, and there's another. Rodolphe Brisset.
Well, he started last week. He started about 4 horses here. He won 1 race, 3 or 4 horses, and he won 1 race already, Rudolph. And he looks like he's got the stock that can compete very well, at least here and then across town. With those mid-level like allowance claiming horses. So looks like he arrived early.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We welcome the early snowbirds here to South Florida. And just going forward and talking about the big picture across town at Gulfstream Park, some 8 miles east, we've got a pretty big Saturday forthcoming. In fact, that's not really doing it justice. This is the biggest racing day, hands down, of our 40-day stint here in Miami Gardens. 9 stakes on Saturday. And, man, about 700, just under 700 G's in the purse account. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, this is the Sunshine Millions preview day, and then we run the Sunshine Millions, of course, over at Gulfstream Park. When is that, in January?
That's in January, a week or 2 before Pegasus.
Yeah, a week or 2 before Pegasus. So this is great, and the racing has been, we've been talking just before we came on the air, the racing at Gulfstream Park West has been good. It's been good here.
Yeah.
We got some allowance races every day or optional claimers.
Yeah.
Good racing.
Definitely. Now, also good, couple of key carryovers, mainly, of course, that Jackpot Rainbow 6. I left here a little over a week and a half ago wondering when I returned right after the Breeders' Cup, would we have an ever-growing Jackpot Rainbow 6 carryover pool? And, of course, the answer turned out to be unequivocally yes. That's a nice chunk of change there, my friend.
Yeah, over $500,000, and we've had throughout the week a couple of horses that were live in the final leg.
Oh, really?
And,
yeah?
Yeah, is it going to get hit? And, of course not, but it's been paying well, even without getting that one unique ticket, and that starts with this 8-race card in race number 3.
Absolutely, fast and firm. Bit of an Indian summer, especially coming in from Cali. There was some mornings, and I said I may have grown up in New York, but I'm a South Florida boy from this point on. And I mean, you're getting down into the mid-40s. It was pretty chilly in the barn area, so good to be back. And again, we have that Indian summer type flavor, don't you think?
I mean, we in early October, not to belabor, but early October, it turned cool. We said, this is great. We're going to have a great winter. Not the case.
No, not the case. But, again, the sun is out. We're fast and firm, and we'll get tied on for the first of 8 at about 120, 125. And, in fact, coinciding with the first race is that early pick 5. And I'm coming in fresh off the layoff here, hopefully no ring rust per se, and going for an $18 play, anchored and built off my single in the back end, the cash out. That is race number 5. Just going to stand alone with the number 6, Mr. Sesko. That's a good spot for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like he's dropping in. While you were gone, Antonio Sano always does a good job. His barn has been starting to heat up. He's winning a race or 2, throughout the week. So a good single by you.
Yeah, I've got 2 in the race prior, 2 key contenders. One's a drop down for David Fox. The other is first time. Peter Walder's been doing really well. And starting things out with the 3-horse spread here in the first race, I am going to side. I do think there is a blatant horse to beat in this Wednesday opener, a 2-lifetime 16K claimer at a 2-turn mile on the main track. Horse to beat is your top pick. There's no denying that in the 3 flat-out flying, and I'll let you talk about him in a second. I'm going to just side, though, with the 2 drop-downs who are coming out of a much tougher field. They didn't run all that well, but a much tougher field in terms of quality. The number 2, Whitecap Bay, and I obviously prefer the second-time Ralph Nix, Ronnie, from Cali in the Ford. Deal with it, dude.
Deal with it, dude. I did go with flat-out flying. One of my angles in here with the only 4-time winner in the field. Makes a usually fruitful third start back from a layup. He finished second at this level in distance. Orby Mirage, Kristen Torres in the saddle. Lots to like for me, but I'm interested with the number 4 Deal with the dude who faced those 16 condition claimers at a mile, shipped from the West Coast into Ralph's barn. Didn't run that well, but against better.
Yeah, gets better. Second time over the track. So he's got some intangibles working on his resume, getting a Misael here for good old Ralph Nix in that first race. We move on to the second, and in talking about even some of the barns that are running here on Friday, we've got trainer Mike Maker, who's had a bit of a smattering of horses that have shipped south. I mean, obviously, he had a string stabled here throughout the summer months, but it does feel as though there are some new faces in the barn as we get closer to wintertime in this part of the country. And I just think, in general, that's a pretty good way to sum up the presence of our top pick, the Ford Decorated Ace.
Yeah, dropping a notch, turning back to 7.5 furlongs. He was good last time. What I liked about this daughter of Treasure Beach, she was stakes placed here last year, so she ran pretty good last time out. Had a little trouble.
Yeah, she had some trouble. You would think, in general, this is probably just an easier spot, running for 35 down here in this part of the country over in Miami Gardens with Raylu Gutierrez in the irons. There is, however, and you've got the horse second, I've got Feature Creature third, a real last-out trip horse. And this is a race we'll take a couple of different looks at, beginning at the starting gate, and just very little went right for this filly by Red Rocks. And I kept waiting and watching, and she's the 2, by the way, in the white cap of Bruno Schickendans. I kept waiting for her to eventually just settle and kind of get in the groove. And you'll see, even though she's able to save ground inside, and it looks like she's getting a good trip, she's tossing her head about, and it just seemed like she was not a happy camper being down inside. There was some trouble with the one horse that caused almost a chain reaction. And I go, okay, this is the troubles past her, the one horse is behind her, but she still was miserable back there, just not having any of Marcos Meneses trying to rate her. Very rank under a hard hold. She ran pretty well, though, after that, because after the backstretch run with her just, again, tossing her head about, she'll save ground around the second turn and put in a pretty good run down inside. This was a good last-out effort, Ronnie, as, again, Marcos has not evacuated or vacated the fence, and she'll just sit down there and run a good second.
Yeah, she made a really good inside bid, as you're going to see right now, to finish second at this level and distance. And, you know, when you go back and look at that video you just shown, boy, she wanted to run early in there, so never got really that chance. And she's game as can be on the inside trying to win it.
Yep.
Yeah, just gets beat by the horse, the 4 horse had just a better trip than she did.
Now, Edgar will take over the controls today on Feature Creature, who, I mean, this is old news by now. Talked to him and Ashley, his fiance, late Friday after he rode a couple of the Friday Breeders' Cup races, and they were taking the red eye back to South Florida, and he rode all weekend at GPW. So Edgar on Feature Creature. Ronnie's 4-3. I'm going to go 4-5, and we as a group are going to take a little time out. We'll be back with a lot more after this here on GPW Today.
We hope you're ready to walk, trot, or canter on the historic Gulfstream Park racetrack. Getting ready for Canter for the Cause, where you will have the chance to ride on the same track as the Florida Derby and Pegasus World Cup winners. It's on Saturday, November 9th, and it's for a great cause, benefiting the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Whispering Main's Therapeutic Riding Center. Visit GulfstreamPark.com for more information, and we can't wait to see you there.
Whether you're at home or at the track, have a stake in the race when you bet with ExpressBet. Sign up for an ExpressBet online betting account and receive up to a $500 sign-up bonus.
Hey, everybody, welcome back on this Wednesday afternoon. Again, day 26 of 40. We continue on, Ronnie and Jason, beneath the bright lights of our clubhouse studios. And I know we had a one-week hiatus in the Stronach 5, my friend. I was looking for you on TV out at Santa Anita Park, holding down the fort at GPW. But we'll do it all again this coming Friday with a bi-coastal sequence, my friend.
Yeah, we got a couple of races from Gulfstream Park West, and you see the second. We got leg B and leg E, and that's how close these races are, because it's our 7th and 8th race, and we're the second leg and the last leg.
I love that. I mean, you're talking 5 races in about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, give or take. That is really, I mean, freight train action, and getting all the best of that with that 12% takeout in the Friday, already November 6th, or November 8th, excuse me, Stronach 5. We come home here, and certainly of immediate concern, 530,000 plus in our 20-cent jackpot Rainbow 6. You're in the hot seat. Obviously, you didn't take it down. I was hoping I might come home to just a pile of money in your office, but let's try again today.
Well, we got 43-20 today, and couldn't find that single. I went 6, 7, and 11 here with It's My Lucky Girl, La Flamenca, and Drills Valentine. And then 2 deep. I think the logical 2 in there, Crammy Boy from Peter Walder and Sky Point. Your horse is on my ticket in race number 5, Mr. Sesko, but I used a bunch in there. Then my long shot today is Vinny Van Gogh, who's listed as a gelding now. I think this horse might run pretty okay. He's 12-1 on the morning line, so I threw him on the ticket, the horse to beat is Alza. And then a 3 deep, and I end the day with 2 in the last race. Actually, 2 first-time starters in there with Uncaptured Ruby and Independent Miss.
All right, sounds good. That's down the line. We wrap things up again beginning at about 1:20, 1:25. Last race listed in the program at about 10 to 5 Eastern. Obviously, we rolled the clocks back a bit. I mean, autumn is certainly, it may not feel like it outside, but it's in the air. And weird with it getting dark so early, isn't it?
Funny you mentioned I was eating dinner. I think it was last night. It was 5:30 or 6 o'clock. I was sitting down. I looked outside. I said, wait a minute, it's dark out. It takes a little time to get used to it.
Right, for sure. It's for some of us who even, it sounds silly with that 3-hour time gap between Cali or the West and East Coast.
Yeah.
Just trying to get my bearings here, but certainly good joining all of you and Ronnie on the show. And let's talk about this upcoming 3rd race. And if I'm being honest and candid, which I usually try to be, this race, I mean, really, really gave me fits, and I get a sense that might have been the case with you too, because clearly we don't see eye to eye.
Yeah, well, I went with a first-time starter, and there's It's My Lucky Girl is the daughter of It's My Lucky Day, debuting for Rowan Crichton. And I looked up a stat on Rowan with his 2-year-old first-time starters. Where he's 7 for 25, 28%. He's in the money 48%, and of course, one of these or a couple were bombers, because he's got almost a $7 return of investment. He gets Lasix, gets Jeffrey Sanchez in the saddle. And I couldn't, and the reason you mentioned, I couldn't find anybody that previous ran who I liked, so I put the first-time starter on top.
I get your trepidation with the horses that have experience, and the good thing is, I mean, if you want a firster, there's a bunch of those. There's also a good group of horses that have already run. Nobody has clearly jumped off the page, even at this level. I'm going to give a little stab to the 5, Infinity Powers I Win, who's got some speed, second time over the track. You get a slight dip in class, and my best guess in a race that, boy, this is a tricky race to start the Rainbow 6.
Yeah, and if you got a single a little later on, here's one of these races where you go a little deeper. I used La Flamenca in second, who's stretching out to 3/4. Responded last time to both the drop down in class and the surface switch. Ran an okay second, so I threw that one on with Drills Valentine, who I'd like better if it wasn't on the outside there. A little tough to win from post 11.
Yeah, way outside. We'll need all of Edgar's talents there in the irons, riding for trainer Antonio Sano. We move on, and we've already put 3 races to bed. Let's start that Wednesday afternoon, late pick 5. Again, just an 8-pack program, so it does begin in the 4th race. Same 2 that I used in the early sequence, the 1 So Nifty, and I prefer of the 2, and maybe it's by a slight margin, but nonetheless, I prefer the 4 Crammy Boy, who's first time Peter Walder. 2 deep for me in the 5th race here, using Mr. Sesko, and the 7 Verdict is in. I'm 6'7". I look down at Ronnie, my cheat sheet. You got a cold 6'7" there.
Yeah, 6'7" in there, and I think did you use my long shot? You did not use my long shot in race number 6 with the number 6. Just a little bit of a guesswork on my part.
Absolutely, good field though. I mean, it's a solid size field of 10 in that dirt sprint claimer in the 6th, and obviously Ronnie's long shot the 6. Vinny Van Gogh, I'm 3 deep, 6, 7, and 9 in the 7th race, using the 6, 7 are coming out of the same field. They both ran fine October 5th. I prefer from a better post, the 9 Gilda F, who just had no chance last time in hindsight from the parking lot. And I'm going to stand alone with High Bobby, who's clearly the Wesley Ward. If there was a class horse in the last race, Ronnie, it's probably High Bobby going in at least.
Yeah, Wesley Ward, Nick Warren's atop the daughter of Shanghai Bobby. She's want to beat. I'm trying to beat it, but I think that's the logical. It's going to take all the money in there for sure.
Definitely. Now, we're back out to a 2-turn mile here in the opening leg of the late pick 5, a 3-lifetime 6250 claimer. And I think most are probably going to have some amalgamation of the 2 inside horses and the 4 Crammy Boy. Here's the thing, though, with Crammy Boy. You've got Peter Walder, who maybe hasn't run 100 horses this meet, but the spots he's been picking out, I mean, his horses have been performing really well.
Yeah, and a bit of a equipment change earlier. This horse is going to run with blinkers on today. This one goes to Peter's Barn after the claim, stretches out tomorrow. What I like, 2 starts, a win and a third, after making that outside bid last time out to finish 4th, going 3/4 of a mile. You know how well Peter does first off the claim. Yep. Roberto Alvarado Jr. in the saddle. I thought Crammy Boy was the one to beat. Sky Point and So Nifty. We basically have the same super almost, just flip-flopping our 2nd and 3rd choices.
Absolutely. Second half of that field, pretty tough to make on paper. Stepping outside the 1, 2, and 4. So Nifty, the big drop. But, boy, going back to my last day here, the one thing I remember vividly was Peter Walder winning off the claim with Tangible and paid a good price, too, maybe 10, 11, 12 bucks, and not having that horse on top, and I was so annoyed.
Yeah, and that horse ran very well. So Peter does an excellent job. So Crammy Boy, both our tickets on top of both our tickets in there. And as I mentioned, those are the logical 4, and I think how you shake them up in race number 4.
Now, we do see a meet here, and this is traditionally, at least over the last few seasons here, fall seasons in South Florida. I mean, this is a meet Antonio Sano, I mean, just comes at you with the numbers, and he certainly holds a pretty strong hand, sending out 2 in this upcoming 6-horse field in race number 5, which for the record is a 2-year-old $20,000 3-and-up claimer on the turf. The bigger of the 2 horses as far as price goes, the 5 Venerate, but just looking at the 6, Mr. Sesko, this horse is tangled against legitimately tough competition down here.
Yeah, and I like the drop to the 20 level. Going to add blinkers after rallying to hit the board in one of those 2 recent races. But that's against 35 optional claimers. Antonio, Edgar Zayas. You know, I also have Venerate on my ticket, but I thought Mr. Sesko was the one to beat in there.
And we're outside with the 7. Verdict is in, who's coming in off a maiden win last time out for Eddie Plisa. Speaking of maiden wins, let's go back and take a look. This was early October here, opening week at Gulfstream Park West with the 3. Where you going, Owen? Maybe he didn't beat much, and I get he was able to just sit on the rail, but this was a good ride from Hector Berrios. You'll watch this gelding by Kozan just slip up the fence, doesn't have a straw in his path, but he powered away pretty impressively. Visually, I really liked what I saw in going back and looking at this race from the 4th of October. I guess in the end, the jury is still out. Can this gelding by Kozan successfully stretch out and run as well as he did with that big closing punch at 7.5?
That was an incredible, when you go back and look at it, it was a real good performance. I didn't use that one on my ticket, but I mean, further down, I used it in 4th, but seeing that, I might have to bump him up a little bit there.
All right, you heard it here. Where you going, Owen? Ronnie's going back to the drawing board and maybe elevating that horse. A nice 6, why don't we go 6, 7, 3, 5 for you? Does that sound okay,
Yeah,
dude?
we'll change it around a little bit.
All right, let's move on to the 6th here. Ronnie's long shot housed at a good-sized field. I mean, you've got 10 ready to rumble here on the main track, a 3-and-up 2 lifetime $16,000 claimer. I've got your long shot Vinny Van Gogh 4th. I do see Jairo Rendon taking over the controls.
Yeah, and this one listed as a gelding is shortened up to 3/4 of a mile. 5 for lead and faded to finish 5th, but it was a really good 16 claimer. Produced a couple of next out winners from 4 starters. And I was looking, I thought on paper was the 5, was Zalsa was the one to beat. I was struggling with Zalsa, but I did put Vinny Van Gogh because I was looking for a little bit of a price today.
And clearly Zalsa is capable of some big efforts. I mean, he got that crazy fast win 2 back at that sometimes quirky 6.5 furlongs, but there's no denying. I mean, this horse has run 13 times this year, and what I like about him, and I'm sure a lot of people will, I mean, you got to give him credit for holding his form for so long.
Yeah, and he's moving to Aubrey Mirage's barn after the claim, turns back to 3/4 a mile, set the pace. Got caught that last race at the 8th pole, went third, going a mile here last time out. Looked up a stat on Aubrey. First after the claim, all levels on the dirt, just over the last couple of years. He's 10 for 29, 34%, 64% in the money, and still a positive return investment. And we mentioned this a couple of times, Jason. Over the last couple of years, this barn has just really started winning races in bunches. So that's why I put the 2-year limit on. Just wanted to see what he did over these last couple of years.
And these are horses that even though you show an above $2 return of investment, I mean, I almost feel like the cat is out of the bag with him as far as his career is involved training here in South Florida. I think our local horse players have caught on that, you know what, good trainer and very good off the claim with new acquisitions.
Yeah, and then you could see it when you see it in print. You understand why. I actually thought Salsa was the one to beat Nan trying to get cute, but Vinny Van Gogh.
All right, fully loaded for me. I'm off Ralph Nix in this race. I put Ralph first and second. He's got 2 horses that are just, to me, taking realistic dips in class. The Deuce Buddies run. I do prefer the 9 fully loaded, and I get why some people might think this is a weird pick, despite a pretty noticeable drop in class. I do feel this is a crossroads-type race with this colt, who, with Jose Pinchin last season as a 2-year-old, Jose is good as anybody in South Florida at getting a very win-early type precocious 2-year-old. Did this horse quite simply peak last season at 2, and is he just kind of a shadow of what he once was? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt just because he's dropping in class and he's coming in off the layoff.
Yeah, you know, turf to dirt, so I wanted to watch one, but I could understand that the drop, and as you know, Ralph does a very good job.
Yes, he does. All right, let's move on to the 7th here. Speaking of turf, we're on the grass for the final time on this Wednesday, November 6th at Gulfstream Park West. 3 and up, Filly and Mare, 2 lifetime claimers ready to rumble here. And off the bat, the 9 Gilda F. I almost didn't pick her, but in the end, just watching her get no position at all, and it wasn't anybody's fault. You're post 11 going 5 on the turf. You're going to need a lot of luck not only to be good, and it was just a case where mid-pack, 4 wide threat, she just had no chance last time.
It's really tough to win from that post, so she's not moving that far closer to the rail, but post 9 from post 11 absolutely will help her. She departed, as you mentioned. She was a 6 wide, 4th wide, and she came. I think she's got a better shot in here, and also the level of competition. The 3 Grand Diamond, who I used a little further up my ticket, is looking to make amends. She broke slowly when finishing 4th here as the favorite last time out at this same level and distance. I think with a sharper break, this horse could maybe rebound to be closer today.
She's burned a lot of money, though. I mean, she's been mired in this condition, and each 3 weeks or every 3 weeks that goes by, you go, okay, could this be the spot, the field she's supposed to bust through? And obviously she's 1 for 9 and has lost a bunch of times at short prices. I've got her 4th. I felt as though the 6 On With God would run pretty well. We've seen kind of a breakout year here at a lower claiming level, which I think is to be expected. It's tough building up an operation coming to this country from scratch, but Jose D'Angelo's really done a good job, and clearly no qualms with the 6 On With God, or to me, the speed horse, Apillis.
Yeah, she should run well in here. I got to further down my ticket. I also used the 4 Can Holder Wine, who's the daughter of Cantharos, who may have found the spot where she can improve on that trio of 6th-place finishes. David Fawkes got his 1,000th victory last week.
Great.
MSCL Jaramillo. I thought this one might wake up in this spot at a little bit of a... I just kept going back to this horse, you know, with the connections that might run well in there.
All right, Gilda F for you and I. A little bit of a difference as to who might run 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but a good puzzle there in our turf finale in the 7th. Finale, however, the real finale in the curtain dropper is race number 8. And in a way, I think, Ronnie, we may have just simply saved the best for last. I mean, you can't go wrong with the 2-year-old maiden special weight down here at GPW. And we've got a pretty compelling field, and these are 2-year-old fillies, in fact. Led, of course, I think off the bat, let's get right to the 6 High Bobby, who's got speed. And I'm not saying this spot is a layup because there's at least 2 firsters that are probably pretty live, if maybe even more than 2 firsters. But I would think after running at Belmont, Saratoga, and Keeneland, she might just like the flow down here in South Florida at Gulfstream West.
Yeah, and that was 6 furlongs. I think the turn back to 5.5 will help her. Of course, it's Wesley Ward. You got Nick Juarez atop this daughter of Shanghai Bobby. She was the one to beat, but I was sort of I wasn't that crazy about that last performance. So, as I mentioned, I went with a couple of first-time starters.
And in fact, you like Uncaptured Ruby, who will backtrack a few months ago, but just tried to pull worthwhile replays rather than just window dressing. And I thought it'd be worthwhile to go back to this filly at OBS April. She worked a furlong in 10-1, couple of lefty taps, a fast horse who clearly in this sale sold for good money. You've got Top Connections, and the Dam, although she won 3 times sprinting on the dirt, she has passed on, it seems, that precocity to her siblings. She's already foaled 5 winners from 6 previous foals.
Yeah, back-to-back bullet workouts for trainer Jorge Navarro coming into the race, and I just thought that was a way to go. Then Independent Miss is a daughter of Kozan, who we really like this sire. Debuting for Mike Yates, who is pretty good with his 2-year-old first-time starters under maiden special weight conditions. He's 14%. He's 54% in the money, and he still has a positive return of investment. So the number 5, Independent Miss, I thought can run pretty well in this spot.
No, and Yates, I mean, clearly, Mike, with those homebreds, he had a bunch by Cajun Breeze who were all runners. I mean, this guy's a very good trainer in general, really excels with the 2-year-olds. And Kathleen O'Connell also, I think that's a good segue in a very general sense into Kathleen's direction here. And let's hope we see Stormy Embrace this Saturday with her bypassing the Filly and Mare Sprint last Saturday or last weekend at Santa Anita. You would think with them targeting the Sunshine Million, she might be prepping. I mean, this is a home game for her if she's running Saturday.
Well, they're working hard in the racing office, getting a card ready. We'll know a little later on this afternoon. I would think she's going to be running in there.
And we'll tie a ribbon around the number 10, Time for Fun, and just backtracking. She's the most expensive horse in the race, by the way, this filly by Orb, who cost $135,000. I like that originally, looking up her resume to this point, she was a buyback yearling at $65,000 and basically sold for more than double that in a very athletic-looking Breeze. The Dam herself is a little up there in age. I think she's 20, but she was a good racehorse, and there are 8 winning siblings out of 11 foals in the family. Luca Panici seems to be doing a good job. Good rider. He's got the call.
He's got the call, and that's the kind of race this final race on Wednesday's card is. There's a couple of different ways you can go. First-time starters, and, of course, you got to deal with High Bobby, who you think is going to run well in there for Wesley Ward.
And Pete Aiello, of course, on a well-deserved vacation. Pete did a great job all season long, including the first half of this meet at Gulfstream Park West. How's my man Jason Beam doing? How's he sound up there?
He's doing a great job. He really sounds good and everything like that. And Pete's got to rest those vocal cords, but I think watching the Carolina Panthers on Sunday probably wiped him out for a week or 2. That's his favorite team, so well-deserved break. He'll come back stronger than ever.
Absolutely. And our man upstairs, Jason Beam, the other JB, strong as ever. He's got those Wednesday scratches and changes momentarily.